really have championed and led a lot of that work. Some of the recommendations that's come from that committee was, and are reflected within the booklet, are to increase the understanding of what the church teaches in relation to the participation of women in society, and particularly women's leadership, and the role they play or should play within decision-making spaces, and to raise awareness of the barriers which women face, as well as the many examples of good practice, projects and programs which are undertaken throughout Caritas to empower women. And we hope that this isn't a one-off document, that this is a living document and tool which over time can accompany and support, animate and inspire the Confederation and wider society to do more in this area and work together and strengthen our resolve to increase the role of women and help women take up their rightful place and share power and have an equal place in society. Through the three words of the title, so equality, encounter and renewal, we really invite you all on a journey to listen to and engage in dialogue with women, to afford them spaces and opportunities which belong to them. So it really is recognizing the spaces that are theirs by right, and we need to open those spaces and to seed space in order that they can take their rightful places within different discussions and structures, and to promote women's equal participation in leadership and decision making. And I hope this booklet will be something to accompany and guide the journey of renewal that's needed in order to do this. I think from my own work over the last 25 years in the Caritas Confederation, I've seen many, many examples of exemplary women who show incredible leadership in the hardest situations. And whether that is in Africa, the Middle East and Asia, Latin America, Oceania, it doesn't really matter which continent you focus on, you can always find these examples. And perhaps a couple stand out. And for those who were at the conference yesterday, forgive me if you've heard this before, but a woman I was with just 3 weeks ago in Aleppo in Syria, who she's now known as Mama Maggie. She's really called Maggie, but Mama's become what the local community call her. And in one of the poorest areas of Aleppo, exclusively Muslim areas, that was the front line of the conflict for many months, Maggie led the Caritas team going into that area when the debris from pulverized buildings was lying all over the place. They literally had to move rocks to one side to even get in. Nobody knew how safe it was to go in. There was an exploded ordnance from the conflict around, but Maggie led the team going in. And I was first so they first went in 2017. I was with them first in 2018. And when we were there, they really described their fear and the fear of the people of that area of the town, because neither of them knew who the other was, and they didn't trust one another. As I say, they'd been the front line of the conflict, so the trauma that they were living under was quite extensive. And these really are the poorest, these are the poorest among the Muslims, and their role is to empty the toilets, literally to go around the richer in Aleppo and to empty the toilets. And so they were the poorest of the poor. And Maggie led the team then in that area over the last, what's now 7 years, isn't it? Initially providing food and blankets and warm clothing to help them stay warm and fed. And now working with them to repair what buildings are reparable. And I think there's the incredible witness of providing that support and building trust with the community. And she's really been accepted by the community, and that's why they now all call her Mama Maggie. And it's incredible to walk down the street and people are calling out from both pavements as she walks down. And that is just the real tangible impact that Maggie has with her team made within the area. And that's been spearheaded by her, and is an incredible witness of Caritas there. The other one I just want to refer back to is a personal, well, they're both personal stories of mine, but perhaps even earlier in my life. And they say the first cut is the deepest, or the song does anyway. And one of my first big emergency responses was to the earthquake in Gujarat. And there, about a month after the earthquake, we started trying to plan the reconstruction of 14 villages. And Caritas India had an enormous program to rebuild those 14 villages. And in order to work with the community, we established village committees, community committees. Culturally and traditionally, that would all be men. There's no doubt about that. And we insisted that there were at least 2 women on every village committee. And in one particular village, there was a lady called Lucky Ben. And she and another woman were on this committee from the outset. And initially, they just sat utterly silent, not really at the table, even sitting away from the table. Not really believing they had a right to be in the room, and certainly not saying anything. But over the period of that program, which ran for 3 years, slowly Lucky Ben grew and grew in confidence and became more and more vocal, and was getting the women together and really trying to canvass them as to what they thought the project should be doing, and trying to get the men to hear that. It was so objectionable within that cultural context that the men all took Lucky Ben's husband on one side and said, "Can't you keep your wife under control?" And as a couple, they were quite extraordinary. And he said, no, she's on the committee. She's got a right to be there. And he took a lot of flack for that. And she took a lot of flack, and the other lady with her. But she really was at the front. And as a result of Lucky Ben's real courage and strength, the project was designed differently, and houses were built that actually catered for what women needed in the house, rather than the designs that men tended to put forward, which seemed to have more by way of areas of veranda where they could sit with friends in the evening, rather than a kitchen or a chimney or some of the really practical things that women needed in order just to cater for the family. And by the end of the 3 years, Yaki Ben was clearly one of the leaders of that community and played an enormous role, as I say, in the running of that project, but actually much more as a leader in that community. And I think that, to me, is a great example of where we need to get to in terms of allowing women, not giving, allowing women their rightful place in these conversations, in these structures, so that we do allow people to play the roles that are rightfully theirs, and also just make for better outcomes for everybody. So I'd like, just as I wind up, to particularly thank the Dicastery and Sister Alessandra Smerelli for providing the foreword to this booklet. And thanks to everybody throughout the Confederation, particularly the Women's Committee, but everybody who's been part of that in coming together to put together what I hope is a very informative booklet, but the beginning of a journey, or the next stage of a journey together, as we continue to build and promote women's leadership within the Confederation, but then much further beyond in the church, and then beyond that as well. So thank you all very much. Welcome, and you're all very welcome to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alistair, and also for those inspiring examples of your what you've experienced as well in the Confederation. So it is a delight to welcome Dr. Muriel Fleury from the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. As Alistair said, Sister Alessandra Smerilli wrote the foreword for this booklet, and we're very happy and proud to have Dr. Fleury with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So members, collaborators and supporters of Caritas Internationalis, good afternoon. So as she said, on behalf of the superiors of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, and in particular the prefect, Cardinal Michael Czerny, and the secretary, Sister Alessandra Smerilli, thank you for the opportunity to share a few words. So I am Muriel Fleury, head of communication and restitution section of the Dicastery. I am delighted to be with you today, especially on the occasion of the publication of this important document. Jesus wants us to flourish, as he says in the Gospel of John. I have come so that they may have life and have it to the full. We hear stories of so many people who face obstacles to this divinely desired development, including those displaced by disregard for our common home, those who live in uncertain situations, those whose voices and cries go unheard. And it's not unnoticed that a disproportionate number are girls and women. The path to overcoming the obstacles to integral human development included the acceptance of gospel values and the recognition of the equality of every human person. This step implies a change of attitude and even more profoundly, a spiritual conversion. Rooted in the rich tradition of scripture and Catholic social teaching, equality and renewal invited us to this spiritual conversion, addressing perspectives and practices that deny the equal dignity of men and women. At the sign of the times, the sustainable change that calls for equality and counter-renewal resonates with today's approach to synodality within the Church, which has at its center the goal of incorporating the contribution that each human person makes to others. The Dicastery particularly welcomes this document because more than just identifying a problem, more than offering a solid theological reflection, more than simply indicating some successes, equality and counter-renewal serves as a tool for integral human development. I renew our thanks to Caritas Internationalis for offering us all this means of bringing to the center the richness of women who have too often been sidelined. Know that we pray for all the work that of Caritas Internationalis, but especially today for your effort to promote women's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muriel, for your such supportive words and the reminder of these really foundational principles behind this work of the gospel values, and also that this can be part of the synodal journey as well. We're very keen for this booklet to be an active tool in the synodal journey and process that we are in as well. So it is my honor to now present to you something about the booklet. I won't share everything because I don't want to spoil your reading later, but I would like to share a bit about the booklet and what it contains. So I hope, there we go. So, Equality, Encounter, Renewal focuses on the question of women and leadership by laying out a basis for the full participation of women in society through the lens of the scriptures and Catholic social teaching. As well as exploring these theological foundations, the booklet is enriched by testimonies, examples of good practices, and human stories from around the entire Caritas Confederation, intended to inspire meaningful and sustainable actions towards enhancing the leadership of women in the Confederation and beyond. Religious literacy must be part of our toolkit when we are working to address the barriers which women face in various contexts. And so the purpose of this booklet is for it to go beyond the bookshelf, as Alistair said, and to be used as a tool for Caritas staff and volunteers, the local church, external partners and stakeholders, and communities themselves, so that we can strengthen understanding about the church's teaching on and support for women's equal participation, to encounter and listen to the lived experiences of women, and to enter into a process of renewal, where the richness and value of women's role and place in society is fully realized. In 1995, Pope John Paul II wrote, "Jesus treated women with openness, respect, acceptance, and tenderness. In this way, he honored the dignity which women have always possessed according to God's plan and in his love. It is natural to ask ourselves, how much of his message has been heard and acted upon?" Today, nearly 30 years later, we reflect on this question by returning to that message and example of Jesus. We see that the scriptures and the church's social teachings can be a source of inspiration and motivation for promoting equality between women and men today. They call us to reflect on the situation of women and to ask ourselves, do we truly listen to and engage in genuine dialogue to understand the needs of the poorest and most vulnerable women? Are we, as Caritas, as the church, and as society, following the example of Jesus and engaging in meaningful encounter with women? Are women present and represented in leadership and in spaces where decisions are made which will affect their livelihoods, safety, and welfare? And do we recognize the role that women play in service towards others? So why this booklet and why now? Saint Edith Stein wrote, "Who would deny the intellect and will of girls? That would be questioning their full humanity." This question brings into our consciousness the fact that agency, education, and opportunities are fundamental to genuine integral human development. The reflections in this booklet on the spirituality of women's leadership lead us to explore the reality of women's experiences today. And we see clearly that despite the fact that scriptural and social teachings illustrate that women and men have unique gifts and differences of character which should be equally appreciated, women's role and place in society has not and still does not always reflect their God-given dignity. Pope Francis said, "Similarly, the organization of societies worldwide is still far from reflecting clearly that women possess the same dignity and identical rights as men. We say one thing with words, but our decisions and reality tell another story." As an organization whose mission is rooted in the gospel values, Caritas Internationalis has a special responsibility towards ensuring that women are afforded the space, opportunities, and meaningful participation in decision-making spaces at all levels of society. And so we have produced this resource as a tangible commitment and part of our prioritization of the empowerment of women. This is partly because we recognize that being neutral on the subject of women's leadership and participation would be to ignore the fact that it is an ongoing issue in the society, especially in the poorest and most fragile communities, and would therefore diminish the possibility for change and perhaps even contribute to increasing discrimination which women experience. So the fact that we name this confesses it as an inequality, but it also makes concrete our desire to change it. Through Equality Encounter Renewal, Caritas of course recognizes and names the barriers which women face. However, by promoting good practices, policies and programs which our 162 members are implementing, and by including the testimonies of empowered women, supportive men and bishops, and Caritas success stories, we hope to create a counter-narrative whereby women are not only victims, but are builders of hope and solidarity. They are leaders and mentors. They are active agents and participants in society. They are, as Pope Paul VI put it in Populorum Progressio, artisans of their own destiny. And so we are seizing this moment of opportunity for the Caritas Confederation and wider society to open the door to women's leadership and participation so that, piece by piece, we can build a better future for all people together. Equality between men and women is a full expression of the image of God. When we see the full face of humanity, we make visible and value the experience and expertise of women. And in the end, this came down to these three words: equality, encounter, renewal. Equality, the basic principle of our shared human dignity. Encounter, the enriching experience of being together and opening ourselves to the other. Renewal, the joyful pathway which we choose to walk together so that the full face of humanity may truly flourish. And it's, as I said before, it's important to have the support of male voices. And today it was our great pleasure to see that the Pope has tweeted to support the work of Caritas in the empowerment of women, so that the genius of woman, as he put it, as he quotes, may be allowed to flourish in today's world. So I hope that this has whet your appetite for more reading in the booklet. And it's now my very great honor to give the floor to some of my Caritas colleagues to share their testimonies, which are included in the booklet. And we are thrilled that they are all with us here today in person to share their experiences with us. And so I pass first to Patricia Adele Felicite, who is the Secretary General of Caritas Mauritius, and was also the co-chair of the Women's Committee who worked so hard to produce this booklet. Thank you, Patricia. I'm sorry, just to say, Patricia will speak in French.
Sorry. Bonsoir tout le monde. Je vais m'adresser à vous en français. C'est un honneur pour moi d'être là aujourd'hui, après les 4 ans que nous avons travaillé ensemble avec tous les représentants des femmes dans la Confédération pour présenter aujourd'hui ce document. On m'a demandé pourquoi Caritas a besoin de promouvoir le leadership et la participation des femmes dans son réseau. Avec plus de 30 ans d'engagement moi-même au niveau de la Confédération, je peux affirmer que la promotion, la participation et le leadership des femmes a toujours été à l'agenda de Caritas. Avec le lancement du comité sur la promotion et leadership des femmes après l'Assemblée générale de 2019, on s'est penché sur la question à l'intérieur même de notre structure de Caritas. Car dans nos plus hautes instances de décision, les femmes étaient quasiment absentes, ceci dû à la nature cléricale de nos structures. C'est ainsi que l'une des premières actions que ce comité a eu à effectuer, c'était une enquête en 2022. Une enquête au sein de notre confédération. avec la participation de 110 organisations membres sur 162, ce qui reflète 68% des membres de la Confédération, nous avons constaté les résultats suivants. Il y a un équilibre de 52% de femmes et 48% d'hommes travaillant dans l'ensemble de la Confédération. Toutefois, lorsque les résultats sont ventilés par poste au sein des organisations, ils montrent que les femmes sont systématiquement moins présentes dans les postes de décision et dans les organes de gouvernance. Au niveau des directeurs ou équivalents, 72% de ces postes sont occupés par des hommes et 28% par des femmes. De même, les organes de gouvernance sont composés de 67% d'hommes et de 33% de femmes. Au niveau de l'encadrement supérieur, des directeurs de programme et de personnel des organisations membres, les règles du jeu s'équilibrent un peu. Les femmes représentent respectivement 47% de ces postes. Alors, c'est ainsi que toutes les instances de Caritas se sont senties interpellées. Et ils sont appelés à renforcer la présence des femmes au niveau le plus élevé de la gouvernance et de la direction. C'est un domaine d'action prioritaire pour promouvoir l'égalité entre les hommes et les femmes dans la prise de décision au sein de nos différentes instances et dans l'Église. L'une des principales recommandations du rapport était partager des informations, des outils et des expériences pour accroître l'apprentissage par les pairs entre les organisations membres et renforcer le dialogue avec les conférences épiscopaux et les communautés sur la participation des femmes au leadership et à la prise de décision. Et c'est cela que nous célébrons aujourd'hui avec le lancement de ce livret. Égalité, rencontre et renouveau, un engagement de Caritas pour promouvoir le leadership et la participation des femmes, fondé sur les Écritures saintes et les principes et valeurs de la doctrine sociale de l'Église. Pour que toutes les recommandations deviennent des réalités, il y a encore du chemin à faire. Et il faut encore qu'on s'engage. C'est que le début. Et pour ça, il faudrait que dans chaque région soit constitué un noyau de conseillers qui anime le suivi et la coordination des actions visant à accroître l'égalité entre les hommes et les femmes dans la Confédération. Il faudrait que soient mises en œuvre des politiques et des pratiques qui garantissent une participation et une représentation adéquate des femmes au niveau de la gouvernance. Il faut aussi assurer l'inclusion des principes d'égalité dans la gestion des ressources humaines, renforcer la composante de l'inclusion et de la diversité dans les normes de gestion de Caritas Internationalis et augmenter la conformité des organisations membres aux articles et bonnes pratiques qui y afférent. Développer les voies d'accès pour les femmes aux postes de direction et de gouvernance, notamment à travers des parcours de développement professionnel. Il faut aussi améliorer l'accès aux technologies et aux outils de communication afin de renforcer les capacités et d'ouvrir l'accès aux opportunités de leadership. Et finalement, il faudrait suivre et mesurer les progrès de la participation des femmes à la prise de décision dans la Confédération. Je termine en disant bonne fête à toutes les femmes engagées au nom de leur foi et de leurs convictions dans Caritas. Et je voudrais aussi remercier tous les hommes qui contribuent to make this happen. Merci.
Thank you, Patricia. And thank you also for reminding us about the need for data gathering as well as part of this process, and for making our organizations accountable for this work as well, which is really important. So thank you for your very concrete recommendations. I'm now pleased to hand the floor to Sister Regina Ignatia Afla, who is the Assistant Superior General of the HDR Sisters and who is usually based in Ghana, but who is here with us today, and who was also part of the committee which worked so hard to put this booklet together. Thank you, Sister Regina.
Thank you, Stephanie. So thank all of you for having me today to share my thoughts on the spirituality of women leadership. So the question is, what is women leadership, or what is the spirituality of women leadership? Spirituality is the personal assimilation of the salvific vision of Christ by Christians. It has in its own roots in the baptismal vocation and is empowered by the Holy Spirit. Spirituality permeates every dimension of our personality as women leaders in an ongoing daily convention. It helps to mold our beliefs, values, and ethical compass in our place of work and organizations. This plays a significant role in how we govern ourselves regarding leadership roles as women. The Bible refers to some women whose spirituality made them influential and effective leaders. The book of Exodus speaks of Miriam as one of the first to pick up an instrument to lead in worship when the children of Israel miraculously crossed the Red Sea. That is Exodus 15:20. Deborah is the only female judge and charismatic military leader in the history or story of how Israel takes the land of Canaan in Judges 4 and 5. A whole book in the Bible is named after Esther for her fearless leadership role, risking her own life to save the lives of the Jewish people. At the Annunciation, the Blessed Virgin Mary ponders on her unique mission to bear the Christ. The spirituality of some contemporary women leaders continue to be of inspiration. Mention can be made of Saint Monica. Augustine without Monica is a contradictory in terms. Saint Catherine of Siena was an influential defender of the papacy. She is well known as a mystic and has been credited with Pope Gregory XI's return to Rome. By living a deep spiritual life of longing for God's love, Saint Teresa of Calcutta has also greatly impacted the poverty of the physically destitute and those who are spiritually in the greatest need. The list is not exhaustive. The spirituality of these women leaders implies an influential presence, a positive appreciation of the world, and a self-insertion into it to testify and sanctify and redeem it. It affords us the alternative perspective, a resource for strength and inner balance in a radically divided world. It enables us to discover God's call in new priorities and respond to them in ways that conform to the gospel. Caritas Internationalis, since 2021, has been encouraging its members to promote women's leadership through various conferences and activities. The broad topic equality, encounter, and renewal from CI has now gained root through the unveiling of this booklet. From the above, what pragmatic step should we take as a body to break the belief that women cannot go forward or cannot be put into leadership position? And what could be done to encourage women's participation, especially in the African continent? What multiple strategies should CI adapt to enhance women's life skills and increase our presence in the Confederation, in the church, and the world at large after this launch? Those are some of the questions that we will need to be asking ourselves after reading this book. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Regina. Also for reminding us about the influential presence of women throughout the ages. It's not a new thing. And also that women are, of course, a resource in our divided world. So very nicely leading on from what Sister Regina just said, I'm happy now to be showing a video from one of a diocesan Caritas project in South Africa. And this is one of the examples that you'll find in the booklet. The project is called Masibunge, and it means come and have a cup of tea. And it's a women's empowerment group where they come together over a cup of tea, but then they train women with various leadership skills for their participation in the community. So I sincerely hope that it'll work. We will see now. Okay. Hopefully the sound will come. Okay. I think perhaps I'll... sorry, I just need to ask Jakob if you... Okay, well, in the meantime, perhaps we'll let our technical team sort that out. And I will pass in the meantime to our next speaker, who is Sister Ruperta, who is from Caritas Mexicana. And Sister Ruperta has flown all the way from Mexico to be with us here this week for various events. And so I pass the floor to you. Thank you.
Buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Los cuerpos de las mujeres negras sí importan. En el contexto del Día Internacional de la Mujer, quiero expresar mi palabra, la palabra que me viene desde dentro, la palabra que es memoria y sabiduría ancestral. Como mujer afromexicana, carmelita misionera de Santa Teresa, coordinadora de la pastoral afroamericana y caribeña y de la pastoral afromexicana, fui invitada por Caritas internacionales para compartir en este día un poco de mi experiencia de vida. Quiero hacer este compartir en dos momentos. Primero, hablar sobre la realidad de los pueblos en el continente, de los pueblos negros, enfatizando de manera especial la vida de las mujeres negras. Y un segundo momento, hablaré sobre los compromisos y desafíos. Realidad de los pueblos afros en el continente. La economía de nuestros países y las relaciones sociales y culturales no podrían entenderse sin las miles de personas diversas del continente africano, especialmente de las mujeres y sus niños y niñas. Necesitamos divulgar este conocimiento y cambiar las historias de los libros de texto de los niños y niñas, donde esté presente la historia de los afrodescendientes y sus legados. Esta introducción, realizada en 2019, en una inauguración de la Cátedra UNESCO Afrodescendiente en México y en Centroamérica, nos interpela por las búsquedas que hace la sociedad civil en reconocer la importancia de los afrodescendientes en la historia del continente americano y del Caribe. En el 2011, la Asamblea General de la ONU proclamó este año como el Año Internacional de los Afrodescendientes. En el 2014, la Asamblea General, en su resolución 68-237, proclamó el Decenio Internacional para los Pueblos Afrodescendientes, 2015-2024. Sin duda, la sociedad está avanzando en el camino de la visibilización de los pueblos de América Latina y el Caribe, donde se calculan cerca de 200 millones de afrodescendientes. Los organismos internacionales buscan asegurar que ellos disfruten plenamente de los derechos económicos, culturales, sociales, civiles y políticos, sobre todo el derecho de las mujeres negras. Realidad de las mujeres. Es evidente que la situación de exclusión y discriminación como efectos del sistema esclavista aún persisten. De los 200 millones de afrodescendientes que viven en nuestra región, el 92% está por debajo de la línea de la pobreza. De este porcentaje, casi la mitad son mujeres negras. En relación al empleo, el acceso a la educación, a la política, a la salud, las mujeres negras seguimos estando en las escalas más bajas de nuestras comunidades, estados y países. Se constata que la escuela no brinda referencias positivas sobre el continente africano, presentes o pasadas, y enfatiza la miseria, el hambre, la enfermedad y la esclavitud. Falta mucho para que se reconozca y se relate la riqueza, el valor de su historia, su cultura, sus tradiciones, descubrimientos y legados científicos de los pueblos africanos y su influencia en nuestra identidad y ser. Actualmente la mujer negra, la sociedad la margina triplemente por el hecho de ser mujer negra y por su condición histórica económica. Nuestras mujeres se encuentran flageladas por la sociedad en general, ya que sus aportes a la construcción de la nación no les son reconocidos y se les excluye de todos los espacios de crecimiento integral, exclusión que la obliga a vivir en situaciones indignas y a su vez a buscar respuestas desde iniciativas organizativas propias. Por otro lado, el factor que debilita el desarrollo de las mujeres negras es la sociedad machista, que no está dando el valor que se merece la mujer. Por eso la participación de ella va a pasos muy lentos en la toma de decisiones que son trascendentales para la comunidad. Sus efectos, la falta de una buena educación que le permita abrir sus horizontes hacia nuevas oportunidades. La aparición de embarazos a muy temprana edad, cuando no se cuenta con ninguna preparación para la vida. La poca participación y representación en la política, en la iglesia y la discriminación todavía existen en el campo laboral. Hace unos años viví en Brasil, estuve 10 años por allá. Y las jóvenes cuando terminaban alguna licenciatura, aquellas que conseguían estudiar, buscaban empleo. Y una de las cosas, de las condiciones que le ponían, claro, para no darles el empleo, les decían que tenían que tener buena presentación. Y esto implicaba que se tenían que alazar sus cabellos, ¿sí? O con cremas blanquearse la piel. Eso era la buena presentación en alguna empresa. Esto era muy doloroso para nuestras jóvenes cuando trabajé allá. Gratitud y respeto a las mujeres negras. No hemos agradecido suficientemente a nuestras mujeres. Es una deuda pendiente que ya tenemos que empezar a saldar en los nuevos escenarios que se nos presentan. La Iglesia debe asumir frente a las mujeres latinoamericanas y caribeñas una actitud de respeto, acogida e inclusión en la toma de decisiones. En la asamblea eclesial de hace 2 años en México, uno de los desafíos fue que la mujer debería de estar en la toma de decisiones. Sabemos que en nuestra iglesia, la iglesia tiene cara femenina, pero no decidimos nosotras. ¿Sí? Siempre está un párroco, un obispo, quien toma la palabra y decide por nosotras. Entonces creo que es importante ir teniendo conciencia de esto y, como decíamos el día de ayer, ojalá que muchos de nuestros pastores latinoamericanos y caribeños retomemos el ejemplo del Papa, de ir incluyendo mujeres en espacios de decisión, que es tan importante. La Iglesia debe asumir frente, decíamos, a las mujeres latinoamericanas y caribeñas con esta actitud de acogida y respeto. El Papa Francisco advirtió que no pueden ser siervas de nuestro clericalismo recalcitrante. Dijo que ellas son con meticulosa paciencia, encienden y recienden la llama de la fe. De sus labios hemos aprendido la fe, casi con la leche de sus senos hemos adquirido los rasgos de nuestra alma mestiza y la inmunidad frente a cualquier desesperación. El Papa está convencido que si se quiere una nueva y viva etapa de la fe en este continente, no se obtendrá sin las mujeres. Ellas son las protagonistas en la Iglesia latinoamericana y caribeña, en su salir con Jesús, en su perseverar, aún en el sufrimiento de su pueblo, en su aferrarse a la esperanza que vence a la muerte, en su alegre modo de anunciar al mundo que Cristo está vivo y ha resucitado. Un Pentecostés en la Iglesia y social solo podrá ser posible con la participación activa de las mujeres. Debemos visibilizar sus aportes al desarrollo de muchas regiones, con un trabajo permanente, aprovechando los espacios que han conquistado y poder abrir nuevos en la participación ciudadana para las mujeres negras de la región, porque estamos seguras, que si avanza la mujer, avanza todo un pueblo. Estos son apenas pequeños signos de lo que podemos hacer para visibilizar el gran aporte de la mujer negra en América Latina y el Caribe. Es necesario, pues, retomar ese empoderamiento de las mujeres desde la niñez, con las niñas, los adolescentes. Ayer veíamos un video donde en la pastoral, en las celebraciones afros que tenemos, se incluyen a los niños. Los niños son importantes, le dan un nuevo vigor y una nueva vida a nuestras celebraciones. Entre los desafíos que colocamos aquí, tenemos que poner a la luz pública la situación de discriminación de la mujer afro, mostrando a través de estadísticas que ciertamente la cara de la pobreza es de mujer afrodescendiente. Ojalá, pues, que en nuestros espacios vayamos integrando, vayamos tomando en cuenta esta diversidad que hay en nuestra iglesia. Diversidad no significa peligro, al contrario, nos enriquece. Ojalá que lo hagamos, ¿sí? Que tomemos este ejemplo. Queremos ver más caras, tanto de mujeres indígenas, negras, en instancias de decisión. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Sister Ruperta. also for reminding us about the importance of the intersectional approach, and that we need to be very aware of what the local context is and the experiences of different women. Yesterday, someone reminded us in the conference, there isn't just one woman, there are lots of different women, and we need to be very aware of that in our work. So now that I've learned how to share a video, I will now be pleased to share with you the video of the project.
Gender-based violence and femicide is steadily but surely increasing in South Africa. We are witnessing a lot of women being killed by their boyfriends or killed by their spouses, and we're also witnessing a number of women being raped.
Akange ndiqale ngoba i-GBV survivor, ndiqale ndayi-victim.
In 2018, the Catholic Diocese of Mthatha realized that women empowerment is becoming a talk show where people just go for training and nothing specific happens. We designed a program called the Maspunge, a women empowerment program. Maspunge is a Xhosa word meaning come, let's be together and enjoy a cup of tea. This, of course, is taken from the context where women would call each other and have a cup of tea whilst they're talking a number of issues that are affecting the community. And we realize that if we bring them together to talk about what is really affecting women.
Kwemeko yokuziphilela singomama nangokwemeko yoba sijonge uba apha ekuhlaleni kwi-community sihleli njani, oomama bakwaziyo ubona iimeko zasekuhlaleni. Kuthe sisajonge sinjalo sidibene no-Women Support Center, ndabona uba into enonceda kunganjani nxa ndiqokelela abantwana, ngoba olu coceko lungekhoyo lusuka ekuzaleni kwabantwana bengaphantsi kwexesha lozala kwabo.
So it's just a short insight into what's actually happening on the ground and how women are being empowered the world over. And to our final speaker, I now turn to Karam Abi Yazbek, who is the regional coordinator of the MONA, Middle East and North Africa region of Caritas. And as I said before, it's really important to have supportive male voices, and Karam is one of our strongest. So we're extremely grateful. And but Karam was also on the Women's Committee. So thank you, Karam.
Thank you, Steph. And I was proud to be a member of the Women's Committee, and I hope I was up to the expectations. So we were two. I wasn't the only one. And of course, the idea behind it was just to say that it's not only a question of women, it's a question of men as well. And we are all concerned about this issue. And this is also where, as a committee, we tried our best to work on this. But of course, there is still a lot to do. And I hope with the new committee, the new members will continue this path. So, yeah, allow me to continue from where Patricia ended with this a study that has been done on a global level. And I will present a bit quickly on our level in the MENA region, Middle East, North Africa region. We've done lately a very quick statistics just to see also where we are in this and how to move forward. So at our regional level, Middle East, North Africa, you know, we are struggling of many crises. Some of them are long time ago, since 70 years and more, and some are more recent. But even with this, there is a need to move forward. So we try to do a very simple assessment to see where we are with this. So just to give you some figures, on the board member level of our member organization, we have 77% of men and 23% of women. And when we talk governance, we talk about president and board members. So in our context, most of the time, presidents are bishops or priests. So automatically, we're talking about men. While on the level of board members, of course, there is possibility to have additional women participation, and this is also one of the objectives, hopefully, to reach in the near future. At the general director level, we have 14-member organization, and we're happy that we have 8 out of 14 men and 6 out of 14 women. So it doesn't mean that we don't hope for better and more equality, but already also it's a good indicator at this level. But if we look to the upper management level, here also we have a certain discrepancy, unbalance. We have 58% of men, while 42% of the upper management positions are held by women. And the surprise is when we go more to the staff level, and this is where we see in Caritas, I think in general, but this is especially about in our region, where we have 61% women and 39% men. And here we see the number of women involved in the field, on middle management level, etc. And for the volunteers, it's also the same. I mean, we can go in depth in the study and we can have a lot of analysis, but a basic analysis will show us that we have plenty of volunteers, plenty of staff, qualified people on the field level, on the middle management level, but to reach upper management level or governance structure, this is something to work on and to try to have some progress. And one of the open question was to our members to see how there is opportunities for career development at our level or as member organization Caritas in the Middle East, North Africa region. And for some of them, they really expressed that there is no specific opportunities so far. And for others, they were talking about engaging in developing women representation strategy. It's start being involved within different Caritas strategy and planning to enhance women representation. This is something positive, this is good, but it will need additional practical steps. And as we always hear, or usually say, a picture worth 1,000 words, but also I would like to say that a story sometimes worth 1,000 numbers, because here we're talking about numbers, statistics, number of men, number of women. But of course, Alistair, he shared with us some nice stories, good stories. Yesterday in the conference, also many stories have been shared, and I'm sure there is many stories to be shared. So this qualitative part, I think we need to focus on it to try to see how, on a global level, on regional level, how we can promote more those good stories to be as an example for additional improvement on the level of women leadership in our Confederation. And last year, in our General Assembly, last May, we had the CI, Caritas International's General Assembly. And in preparation for this General Assembly, we worked on this statement, the statement of man's commitment for women's empowerment. So in fact, in reality, it's not only man, but we wanted to promote it like this. It was men and women, because Father Michel is here, president of Caritas Lebanon. He's one of the president who signed this statement. And Laurence Panapour, the director of Caritas Iran, also she's with us online. I'm happy that she's here. Also, she's one of those who signed. So all our members, the 15 members of Middle East, North Africa, they signed this statement as a kind of a commitment from our side as regional secretariat and as a region in order to move forward with this. And since May until now, we haven't done too much improvement, but we're trying to put things together. So just quickly, those 8 statement or commitment is to establish more and more relation with the Bishops' Conference and other communities in order to improve women participation. build core group of advisors in each region. And here we're trying our best, and soon we will have a coordination meeting with the coordinators of Caritas Africa and Caritas Asia to talk about coordination in general, but specifically about women leadership. And I hope with the committee members we can discuss more and more. As well, one of the points is work on policies and practice, and then later we talk about CI management standards. At Caritas Internationalis, for the non-Caritas, we have management standards, a type of assessment that help us to measure how we are doing in our Caritas. And in those improvement plan, we highlight how we can do better. And this is where also we have some objectives now on the level of women empowerment and women participation. As well, women access to leadership and governance, access to technology, we monitor and measure progress. And to be able to, because this is a commitment, and we hope we'll be able to achieve this, so we're trying to set a roadmap for action. We submit this commitment to staff in the General Assembly on behalf of all our president and directors in our region to the Women Committee in order to try to initiate this and to encourage other regions as well to move forward. And from our side, we will try on bilateral level with other regions to try to encourage to think about projects, about initiatives, how to improve at this level. At our level as Caritas Mona Region Secretariat, in our strategy, we have now a strategy for from 2024 until 2030, and a plan for 4 years, 2024, 2027. We have one of the components of the objective, strategic objective, dedicated to women empowerment and leadership. And we have, of course, budget also reserved for those activities. And in order to do better, we're trying to establish partnership because we don't have maybe all the expertise needed and all what we need to do. So we're trying to have also more and more partnership and collaboration. And now we're discussing with an organization called 50/50. The name of the organization also give a sign. So we're now discussing to sign an MOU with them in order to work especially on capacity strengthening at our regional level, awareness raising, capacity strengthening also to women who would like to go to more leader roles in order to work together at this level. And we hope that it will go also beyond our region, not only within our region. So Steph, she mentioned also Pope Francis, how much he's encouraging this. And today we're happy that he tweeted about this initiative. And thank you very much, and happy Women's Day, everyone.
Thank you, Karam. It's really good to get the regional perspective so that we can understand also how Caritas organizations and partner organizations can work together at that regional level. So thank you very much. And it just remains for me to thank you all. We decided not to have a question and answer, but rather I hope that this will generate discussion as you have a glass of something and a canapé outside. So thank you all very much for coming. I should also say that the booklet is available also in French and Spanish. And there are copies on the table just there if you would like to take some. And please feel free to take more than one copy away with you if you would like to. So thank you to all of our speakers for joining us. Thank you to everyone online. Thank you to our translation team who have done such a great job for us today, and for our technical support. I know now how to share a video, which is a great skill. So thank you all very much. Yes, please do go and have a glass of wine to drink. Thanks.